Hey there, this is Jenny Clark with Solvability, and we got today's Freedom Friday. I'm so excited because I've got somebody that I worked with many years ago in federal contracting. That's Steve Reed. I used to do an event in Huntsville called the Rocket City Government Contracting Conference, and you spoke on this exact topic then. So that's part of the reason why I have you back, Steve. So, Steve, what I'd love for you to do is just introduce yourself, tell a little bit about what's going on, and give everybody the insight on Space Force coming to Huntsville, and then just kind of launch into your topic, which he's going to be talking about the blue ocean strategy. Why are you over there with everybody else instead of finding your own place to fish? Is that right? Take it
Yeah,
away.
you're right. You're right.
Go
You're
ahead.
right. Yeah. Well, thank you for the opportunity to speak to this great group, Jenny, and just love working with you again. Yeah, my background is really in mentoring companies and helping them grow, both from the strategy side and the execution side. In business school, they teach strategy, but it's really where execution is where it all falls apart, and they don't teach you that part. So we'll talk about blue ocean today and separating yourself from the competition and making yourself very relevant in this space. And as things like Space Force that this was announced this week, that's coming to Huntsville. Uh, you know,
Yay.
yay, big news, big news. Yeah. So it's making yourself relevant, making yourself unique, and that unique value proposition, even to the government, so important. So we'll talk about blue ocean and red oceans today.
Well, I think this is going to be a great topic for everybody. And, a lot of people are worried about where are the opportunities in federal contracting. And once they think there's nothing going on, something happens, boom. And if you've been watching the market and you've been investing in your company and making those relationships count, because the reason we're on here today is because of the relationship we formed. Gosh, that was 8 years ago when we did that.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about. So talk to us a little bit more about what Blue Ocean Strategy is and how GovCon is a relationship business and how you make it work.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually heard the authors of the book Blue Ocean Strategy, gosh, probably 15, 20 years ago. I was at a Microsoft partner conference, and I was fascinated. And the examples here, a lot of them come from the commercial side. So a good way to start with Blue Ocean Strategy is think about the airline industry and think about Southwest Airlines. They're a great example of taking a very red ocean market in the airline industry, which they're not making hardly any profit on traditional carriers like Delta, American Airlines, all that, and they're all Me Too type providers, except for Southwest Airlines. And so what they did, the concepts behind Blue Ocean Strategy is things that you eliminate, reduce, but create or you emphasize. And um, what Southwest Airlines did, they became focused on, they didn't have first class service. They didn't have a hub spoke system like, us in Huntsville, we have to go through Atlanta if you're going to fly Delta, you're going to go through Atlanta. They did away with that. It's a point to point system. They only fly 737s. So that keeps their maintenance down. The pilots and flight attendants are using the same type of equipment. So they became very, very focused and became very blue ocean and separated themselves from the competition. And the result of that is that they became the most, and still are, the most profitable airline in the US. So that's a good example. There's lots of examples, other examples of blue ocean, but it takes some work to do that. And it applies to federal government. A lot of people say, well, it's different. We're competing contracts and, services contracts and SIBRs and all these kind of things. But really, when you listen carefully to the government and what they're needing, they may not say the words, but they're looking for blue ocean companies. Because when you go here, say to a small business liaison in the government, they go, everybody sounds the same to them. Everybody's doing IT, everybody's doing cybersecurity, but those companies that can come in and truly have their niche in a blue ocean, they're the ones that stand out. So that's kind of the broad ideas of blue ocean.
Well, I think you're giving a great example. One of the people that I'm working with is a guy named Josh Frank. And I learned about him because I was sitting in a session. I said, what you're saying is totally different from what all the other business developers say. he said, whatever you do, don't go in there and say, well, I'm a service disabled veteran owned small business and I'm an 8A and a woman owned small business. He said, doesn't matter. What is the problem you solve? What makes your problem unique? How do you solve it uniquely? Why should the customer care? And what's it going to cost? And that might not be the exact question. If they can't explain the problem they can solve and just show up and say, hey, Steve, do you need some help with this? They look like idiots, right? Keep
Right.
going.
Right. So one of the things that's key in my consulting with particularly small businesses is really doing your homework. And one of the things we actually do is a lot of business intelligence. We do it both for small businesses, and we also do it with commercial contracts. We won a phase one AFWorks, which is an Air Force entity, back last year for business intelligence. So one of the things is whether you're using BI tools or not, is really doing your homework and understand the customer, really understanding what their requirements are, what their needs are. And like you said, Jenny, just coming in, it's great to be an 8A or a service disabled veteran owned small business. That's great. But I always think of those things as tiebreakers. They're not what you really want to lead with. You really want to come in and talk about understanding the customer's needs, what their problems are, and then how you can fit those needs. And what I call those are proof points. So it's not just to say you do it and you've got it on your website. It's that, hey, I have done this for this customer. Here's when I did it. And oh, by the way, here's the impact of what we did. This was the impact that they saw. Here are the results. Here are the benefits this customer got from using that. So that's what speaks. And then you may have done that you may be talking to the Army, and you may have done that work for NASA. You've got to translate that benefit from what you did for NASA to Army speak, Army language, to what their problems are. So it's hard work. And but if you come in and you have that true blue ocean strategy, you're not competing in a red ocean with other, hundreds and hundreds of other companies, that can set you apart for sure.
Well, you bring up something very interesting when you mention a SIBR phase one. It sounds like is what you got with AFWorks, and they're giving them out right and left. I've actually got an innovation panel for my GovCon Summit, and we're going to talk about that because so many companies will get a phase one, but cannot figure out how to get the phase two, or they got a phase one with AFWorks, and AFWorks said, go find a customer. And you've got to know the innovation. You've got to figure out where they're going to buy it, because you just can't call up and say, do you need some business intelligence tools? No, let me call somebody else. So it's all got to come together. And we're talking really about innovation roadmap. So having a vehicle is not enough either. So tell us a little bit more about how you help people decide how they want to differentiate themselves. Do you get in there and spend some time with them and learn about it and kind of help them with their narrative, or what?
We do. It's a good question. So one is we really look to see what are the things that differentiate the company. I'll give you an example of a friend of ours, and we both have worked with him, Curtis Taylor with Link Research here in Huntsville, and we have mentored him through the DoD Mentor Protege program, and still work with Curtis. He has a technology. I'll give him a plug here. He has a vibration mitigation technology that he used with NASA, and we helped Curtis in translating that capability over to the Army, and he's also done it for buildings. So really, one of the first things we do is, what is it that really differentiates the company? And in their case, that was a technology. And Curtis has done a great job of staying right in that niche. So then once we understand where their true value add is, then we look for where there are opportunities. In his case, it could come from AFWorks, and I'll give another plug to Curtis. They also won an AFWorks phase one. And then finding out we may look at BAAs, we may look at other SIBRs, and find out where the customer requirements are. And they're out there. They'll tell you, but you really have to do some digging. And from there, what we do is going back to AFWorks, is finding those potential customers. Now, one of the things I think we have a niche in is we work with technology scouts in the government. And technology scouts, there's some in Tampa and CENTCOM, SOCOM. There's also entities like MGM Works and Strike Works down in Louisiana. And these tech scouts and these entities are looking for blue ocean, unique kind of solutions. And so we work very closely with them and help companies like Leak Research and others come together, and then they can help connect us into the government and find those government customers. So
Well, I'm
that's
really
one of the
glad.
approaches.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you explained it that way, because what small businesses may not understand is when they're coming in to talk to a government representative, they might be a business person like me. And so I had to ask Curtis a couple times once to what do you mean what you do? And
Yeah.
he was very clear about, well, you know how there's vibration, you got to control the vibration. And then me as a business person can understand it. But when they start talking technical, it's like, okay, I want to get you to the person that you need to talk to. But if I can't tell you've done your homework, I'm not about to send you to my buddy, because that person is going to say, Jenny, quit wasting my time with duds. I need people that have done their homework. They've gotten they're all set up. They've got some past performance, and they can explain it. He gave me an example the other day. As a matter of fact, one of the guys I'm talking to, he said, I looked at their website and they've got a little bit about this and a little bit about PPE equipment and pharma. It's like they don't nothing about their website, their image, which is the only thing that that business person like me sees, says that they have any of this capability. The other
Right.
thing that we're doing is we're going to coach these small businesses that come through as SIBR phase 1 and phase 2 winners, and have somebody that is expert in helping them really craft their Shark Tank style pitch. Because if I can't explain with clarity what I do, how is anybody, if I can't explain it to you, there's no way you're going to buy. You're just going to go, yeah, I get 10 calls a day, and I hope that we won't have too many more like what Jenny said today, because boy, was that wasted time. Go ahead. Give me a story. Can you tell me a story?
Oh yeah, yeah. So one of the things, first of all, we do from a process point of view is once we go through Blue Ocean strategy, we go through the 4 disciplines of execution. It's a process methodology. It's a book on it. It's great. And so we actually go through and help our small business through that process. So if it's a business development, marketing, we have accountability within the team for that small business to help them. I'll give you a great example of my office here is in this fabulous building called Hudson Alpha. It's a biotech research center. And I work with 2 companies out of here that do unbelievable work. And I'll give you a good example of somebody that does their homework. One of the companies I work with, that company is Gene Capture. And Peggy Salmon is the CEO of Gene Capture. And wow, we have mentored them for over 3 years now. And they do rapid infection detection. So when you typically go in the doctor, you take a swab, you wait 2 or 3 days for the result. For one infection, they can do, and they're close to being at this point, up to 200 different infections in under an hour, probably around 20 minutes, and at a very low cost. So, I mean, that's phenomenal. And with COVID happening, think about the impact of that technology. So it's very scientific, it's very deep. But Peggy and I went and talked to tech scouts, and I'll give you an example. We went down to MacDill to meet with SOCOM, went to SoftWorks and then in the morning, and went to MacDill and met with SOCOM that afternoon. And Peggy was so prepared, and we really worked hard in getting that message down. We understood what the problems were. We used some of the tech scouts and some of our connections there to understand those problems that SOCOM had, because their problems are very different medically because they're going in very austere areas. Also, when we got into that meeting, we understood the problems, but we also asked a lot of questions to the customer. We actually brought in and we're fortunate enough to actually bring in the physical cartridge that Gene Capture's building so people could see it, see a mock-up of it. And then we asked them questions, follow on about, does this make sense? what should we look at? In this case, we were looking at a BAA. We go, is this the right one? So the customer could tell we had done our homework. And in some cases, they're going, you're right on, you're right on. In some cases, they go, hey, you need to talk to this doctor that we have at SOCOM that does R&D. And so really doing your homework is the key, I think. And it takes a lot of work.
Well, I'm really glad that you brought this up because I really started GovCon Summit because of SOCOM and SoftWorks. Years ago, when I was in Tampa, Hondo Gertz was there, and he got up in a number of meetings that I was going to, NDIA and AFC, and he said, I want to see collision, collaboration, failing faster, rapid iteration. And for some reason, Jenny Clark decided to take that on our own because I knew how many small businesses wanted to be able to do that, but needed the business strategy to make it happen. So several of the guys that were involved in setting up SoftWorks are part of my innovation summit at GovCon Summit. So Tambourine Bates now has GovWorks, GovWerx. And I've also got Kirk Burton, who is in Chattanooga at one of the tech centers up there. And then another fabulous person, Tony Davis, who's now with Deepwater Point. And what we're doing is designing this summit around that small business community, because when you go to a big innovation event, you're there with 3,000 other people of all different sizes. You can't find your tribe. And this is what we really want to be able to do. And it's going to be, if anybody needs to know the address, it's solvability.com/GovCon Summit. But tell us another story. I knew when you said Peggy Salmons, I thought she's been in this industry for a long time. And that's really what it takes. It takes relationships and commitments. These are people that made it their life's mission to do this. There is no dabbling in federal, is there?
There's no dabbling. And one of the challenges of any small business, and I think particularly in the federal market, is the daily whirlwind. In fact, Peggy and I have been texting today, and she goes, I really want to get with you, and we need to talk. And I said, well, here's my availability, and I had 2 little slots on a Friday, no less. And she's going, well, I'm booked in. And so there's this whirlwind that's happening, and your to-do list for that day can go out to the wind pretty early. So the key is really focusing. And I think that's where my company, Go-to-Market Solutions, can help, because we help drive that forward. We help drive that focus forward, where you are, you've got to go and do the important things. They may not be the urgent things, but it's the important things. It's preparing for that SOCOM meeting. It's really about doing the homework. And it's tough. It's tough for a business owner and a small business to do it, but that's how you're successful. You really are.
Well, on top of that, it's part of the Huntsville ecosystem. So a lot of people don't know the history of Huntsville like you and I do, where it really was nothing but the watercress capital of the world until the 40s. And then World War II, they decided to, some people say they captured the scientists from Peenemünde. Some people said, no, we offered them an opportunity. But nonetheless, it was in the early 50s that they set up Redstone Arsenal and said, we want this to become the missile place. So that it's the foundations of some really visionary people that made this happen. And people come into things these days and go, well, I just need to type an email and that'll get me there. No, government contracting is a long-term game. And if somebody starts up and expects to get a contract in 6 months or something like that, it's like, please go over here. But if you want to be inside the wire, that's why you want to be at a group like GovCon Summit, because you're going to be surrounded by other people. You mentioned Curtis Taylor. We've got a panel of the Inc. 5000 people, and I did a study of the companies on the Inc. 5000 and our federal contractors. And to get to Inc. 5000, you know how long it takes? Just take a guess.
Oh gosh, it's got to take a long time.
It takes 13 years.
Wow.
And that's just the average. There are a few people that came on earlier or whatever, but I've got Michael Sanders with Interactive Government Holdings. He said, you know how I got on it? It only took a few years. I got a $49 million contract. Well, what happened next? Well, a couple of years later, we lost it. And then of course, but it's a long-term investment. And that's why I'm looking to help the ecosystem and the infrastructure grow. Because if you think about this, Now, we have the word that the Air Force is locating there. The foundation of that was set long, long time ago. And
Right.
it was also because, remember that big hurricane that ripped all the way down and tore out all the communications? And somebody said, wait, the Missile Defense Agency does not have communications because of a hurricane that hit Huntsville? That is a bad thing. And so what they did is they went back and hardened. But it's just fascinating to see how all these things have gone. Can you think of something that when you first started in Huntsville that's changed, it really prepped them, that made them able to do this?
The thing about Huntsville is I love it. I've been in Huntsville since after college. Um, and I guess just, one of the big things is Huntsville is kind of become Pentagon South, Silicon Valley South, and have the largest per capita PhD in engineers in the nation. And it's going to become in a few years, the metropolitan area will become the largest city in the state of Alabama. So it's a great area technically to be in, but it's grown tremendously. But the one of the things I love about Huntsville too, particularly being in the GovCon area, is you can't mess up or you can't mess somebody up. And this is how no offense to the DC area, but the DC market can be kind of cutthroat. And but in Huntsville, but in Huntsville, and I think true in Tampa too. Uh, Everybody, even though it's a large city, becoming a large city, everybody knows everybody. And you see that person in the supermarket or at a concert or whatever it may be. And you can't mess up. And, or if you do, I mean, it could be an honest mistake, that's fine. But there is this accountability that is so intertwined. And people say, well, I'm not in Huntsville, so I can't do business in Huntsville. Not true. If you look at the contracts that are awarded, plenty of companies are outside of Huntsville. I'll give you a story, Jenny. There's a company in town that graduated from the 8A program, and she was one of the first companies that was part of what's become the SBA All Small Mentor Protege
Yeah.
entity. And she really grew her company phenomenally through that program. And so I remember it was a Friday afternoon about 4 o'clock. Um, she called me and said, hey, listen, I'm graduating from this program. I know you're mentoring other small businesses. She goes, I would just like to give back and help other companies do it. Now, think about that. Would that happen in DC? And I said, we've got a conference in Orlando, and we're going to have a private workshop of about 10 companies. And I said, would you like the afternoon to present? She goes, absolutely. So we paid for her to go down to Orlando. We had a private room in the hotel, and she told all of how she made it happen, and she didn't have to do that, but that's an example of the kind of companies that want to give back in the Huntsville market. And I think that's one of our secrets of success is those are the kind of people that we have like her and Curtis Taylor and Peggy Salmon. I mean, these people are not just good companies, they're great people and they're great to work with.
Well, and that's really why with GovCon Summit, now that we're virtual, I'm national. And if it hadn't
Yeah.
happened, it would have been hard for me to do this. But now the crazy ideas I've had for years are coming together because I want to connect Huntsville Soft and Global Soft. I want to connect companies that are already doing business with SOCOM in Huntsville with the ones that are doing business in Tampa Bay. And part of the reason that I reached out and really tilted GovCon Summit toward veteran entrepreneurs is my personal goal is to help more veteran entrepreneurs be successful in federal contracting, especially professional services and IT for veterans that have clearances. Because when I see a win in that category, I just feel like everybody's taking care of each other. And so when people want to get in touch with you, what's the way to get in touch with me besides they can call me and I'm going to put them in touch with you. But Steve, how do they reach you? What's your contact information?
Yeah, one of the easiest ways is just to find me on LinkedIn. The name of my company is Go to Market Solutions. So I'm Steve.Reed, that's REED at gotomarketsolutions.com. And that's all hyphenated. Go to Market Solutions is all hyphenated. Best way, probably LinkedIn, and then look on our website. You'll see our capabilities there. And yeah, I'd love to help and reach out. I do want to make a comment real quick. Because you made an important point. Because of COVID, we're working remotely. You're global. I'm global. I'm helping a company out of Alaska. We're global. We're all global. If you notice on the commercial side, Oracle is moving to Texas. HP is moving to Texas. There's a lot of Silicon Valley companies are moving, and for a lot of reasons. But one of the things, they know the future is going to be working virtually. So they know the talent is anywhere. The talent can be anywhere because they're going to be working virtually. And that's true in our environment. And that's one of the things that I think is a great opportunity. And you personally have pivoted, Jenny, to take advantage of that right at the beginning of COVID, to pivot like that. I think also the GovCon companies have got to look at that and think about their company working virtually, embrace that, and their customers working virtually. Because at Redstone Arsenal, Missile Defense Agency, most of the people are working those government contracts. Those contractors are working at home. So embracing that, thinking of the world is flat now, and getting a hold of that talent is key to being successful, I think, going forward.
Well, one person I would love to call on is Larry Martin. He's in the Tampa Bay area, has been a big supporter of GovCon Summit, and he's got some specific insight because of the thing that he has been working on. And Larry, meet Steve, Steve meet Larry. How about give us your insight on what you heard today, just now, Larry?
No, Jenny, thanks, and Steve, and thanks for sharing the insight. And it's a wonderful, what we try to do here as we work with the Tampa Bay Defense Alliance and with Mission United with United Way is to help young, not new veteran entrepreneurs as they get up on the shelf and get going. So your perspective is incredibly valuable for how to find that and for how to work in this space and be successful about it. So I appreciate very, very much that opportunity and learn a lot from watching all that.
Good.
Well, I'm so glad to hear that, and we'll get you guys connected because this is really about let's figure out what made Huntsville work. And I want to continue to work with the folks in Tampa Bay and other communities that are that, because I basically targeted companies for GovCon Summit that are outside the DMV. So I think there's a lot going on in San Antonio, Huntsville, Augusta, the Space Coast, which I'm actually at the Space Coast right now. We're down here with Eric Dockwright filming videos and planning the agenda for GovCon Summit, and they're all in the other room wearing their masks. I've got JJ, who's Larry's son, just is an Army reservist looking for a job, and I talked to him about this book, How to Speak Civilian Fluently. It's written by Eric Dockwright. I'm using his office. He's a veteran that really helps people get there. And because of a conversation we had last week, we're adding a hiring event to GovCon Summit. Now, do I know what I'm going to do with that? Not exactly, but has that ever stopped me? Heck no. So thank everybody for being here. I'm really looking forward to hosting GovCon Summit and having a lot of people there. And I appreciate all the support I'm getting. So let's just plan to make it all happen.